Okay, everyone, this one will be probably a little bit more heavy than the other parts so far. So we're gonna start working on our AI just to have our enemies running after us and chasing and all that jazz. Um, so it's working in conjunction with the wave-based system also. So we might go back and forth between two things at the same time, just the way set up. There's some chance that I won't be able to just work on one at the time, but we'll see how thing goes. First, we're gonna create our AI. So we're gonna create a new folder here under our core. Just right click and do a new folder. And this folder will be called enemy. And we're gonna put our AI in there. So the way we're gonna work at that, instead of creating different AI, we're gonna create one base AI that will contain all the logic. And after that, we're just gonna child from this AI. So every modification that we do in one will be reflecting in all the other AI that we have. And from each AI, we will be able to add a little bit more for specific enemies and things like that. So we're going to right click here and we're just going to create an AI. So we'll just do a normal blueprint. Okay. So we're going to take new blueprint right here and we can select what we want here. So we want the character blueprint. So we're just going to create character blueprint right here. And this one will be called or enemy base. Obviously, it's going to be just a normal enemy AI. It's not going to be like anything fancy at all, right? We're not here to go deep in AI. First, I'm not good enough in AI to do something crazy, and it's take a long time too. I'm pretty sure there's maybe other tutorials somewhere that go really deep in AI, but it's not going to be the case for this, as we're trying to set up a little game that we're able to have a little bit of everything in it, so we have something that is functional at the end. So we're going to go to that AI here. So we have our AI here in the viewport. So we can do something like very, very basic. We can just put a mesh and we can select the mesh that we want. So let's see. So first we're gonna add a box collision to our enemy. So we're gonna just select the box collision, which will be right there. That box collision will be at -40 here for the location. So we can almost touch the ground. And now with the box selected, we're gonna do add again and search for static mesh. So we can put the static mesh that we want here. Just for this tutorial, I'm gonna keep that very, very simple. So we're gonna select the static mesh here and we're going to select a cube. And we're gonna take the cube number 1, so this cube here. And let me check here. So that cube, we're gonna size it down. So 0.5 I think will be fine. Maybe a little bit everywhere, so it's perfect. There we go. And are we going to reset that position? Let me check. There we go. Perfect. So if we click here, we're going to reset that and put it down here. Now with the static mesh selected, I believe we can just do compile here. And now it's going to give us access to the element so we can change the color of it. So we can select any color that we want here. Let's see what we can get. Like we're just gonna take a kind of a red. So if I see a red, I'm gonna take that. There we go. We have kind of a red here. There's way more that you can select. Obviously, you select what you want. We can select this one too. So it's doing a little bit. I think it's a little bit better this one. So I'm just gonna keep this one, and I'm just gonna compile that. So now we have our normal enemy here. And if we go in character movement here, we can decide the speed. I'm not gonna change anything for now. I'm gonna leave everything as is, but we need we need something else. We're gonna click add and we're gonna search for pound sensing. So that way, when we zoom out, our AI is able to sense all around, which means that we're going to be able to use this system to tell our enemy to chase our player and so forth. That will work pretty good for us. So if we click on pound sensing here, we can change the number here. So the airing threshold, I want that to be way higher. So I want that to cover my entire map because I want the enemy to always chase the player regardless of what is happening. And we can change the airing here to another number. So when they start not airing anymore, I'm not going to change anything because all the maps that I'm going to do will be small enough so the enemy will always chase the player. And sight radius, I want to make sure that they always see the player regardless. So I'm just going to add a 0 here. And I want the interval of that sensing. So every time there's a pulsion kind of going out, I want the sensing to be able to do that quite often. So I'm just going to put 0.1. And the earring max sound age, I'll leave it at 1.5. Whoops, 1.5. There we go. And we shall be all set for that. Oh, the tick interval too, you can change that. So 0 will be triggering all the time. I want that to trigger every 1 second. And we're going to compile that. If there's anything else or I did a mistake or something, I can come back here later to fix it, obviously. So we're going to go to our event graph and we're going to start our logic. So we can remove those two and keep the event begin place. So we're going to hold S to do a sequence and just block those two together. Obviously, you can use a behavior tree if you prefer for AI because it's way more efficient. But because our AI will just chase the player and attack the player, I don't feel that it's really necessary. But I have another video that I explain a little bit the behavior trees, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other video on the internet that explain that way better. So for this tutorial, we're just gonna stay with the basic. And here we want a reference to our player. So our player here it's named player. So what we're going to do, we're going to cast to our players. We're going to do cast to, and we're going to type player. So it's going to cast to our player that we're controlling. So the object will be get our player character. And from that, we're just going to drag and promote this to variable. So if we need to use that as a reference, we're going to have already that set up. And here is going to be our game mode for waves that will contain all the logic to tell the AI what to do and every other things in the game to do it when we want to do it, okay? We don't have it created, but it's going to go right here. So we can just select that and do a box for now with C. And we're just going to say that it's cast to our reference. And we need to make sure that we check this box here. So when we zoom out, we can see the top here. Okay, we're going to go back down here. Click on pound sensing here. We're going to go all the way down and unsee pound here. We're just going to click on the plus. And here, just under, we're going to create a custom event. That custom event will be IAC player. And now we can drag from this one and just IEC player. Okay. So now we're going to do a logic here. So we need a boolean to see if we see the player or not. So we're just going to go on variable, create a boolean. By default, it should be already a boolean. I'm going to do see player. And now we can take that, just drag it on the board, right on it. I'm going to check this box. So we're going to hold S on the keyboard once more so we can get a sequence here. And from the sequence 0, we're going to call back our AIC player. So not IC player, is going to be chase player. So we can just go right under here, do a custom event. and I'm just gonna call that IA chase player, and we're gonna put that right up here. So IA chase player, and here we're just gonna go down and search for a triggerable delay that we're gonna put at 1 second, and we're gonna have IA chase player. Perfect. So what's happening here is that when this get activated, which is activated every second, it's gonna go here, and this custom event, which is this one here, gonna set our C player, gonna go to the sequence and activate our chase player that we're gonna do right here. And after that, it's gonna wait 1 second and activate the chase player once again. So it's gonna always chase the player. So it's what I want. Now we're gonna go down and we can just select all that actually. And do a C just to do our command, and we're gonna be typing able to C to chase the player pretty much. So we're gonna select that and just do a check here on the top. Okay, we're gonna do our chase now. So from the chase here, we want to take or set max walk speed. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create another variable here because we want to set up the speed of the AI. So we don't want the AI to go too fast, or we want the AI to go faster than the player. Obviously, you set up the number that you want. So we're gonna do a variable here, and I'm gonna call that max walk speed when we are in chase, and I'm gonna change the boolean to float, and we can compile, which is gonna give us access to the default value right here. So we want the speed of the AI to be 600, so we're gonna put 600 here, and now we're ready to use that variable that we just created. So we're gonna take that, we're gonna take this variable, just do a get. So we already have our 600 in that variable here. Now we want to set the movement for a character. So we have the character right here. So if we take that and drag it, it's gonna give us access to the character movement. From the character movement, if we go in character movement here, we have the speed of our character, which is right here. Okay. So we want to access this value here. Well, that's very convenient because here from that, which is this, we can drag from that and we can set our max walk speed. Okay, so we access the variable and we're going to set that speed to the speed that we predefine, which is 600. Obviously, you can put that slower or faster, but just for this tutorial, we're going to leave it as 6. So from that, we're going to drag, and we have something called AI move to already in Unreal. So we're going to select the one right here. So our AI will move to somewhere. We want that to be self, so it's going to move on itself. And the target will be obviously O player that we have the reference right here that we created on the top here. You remember we cast to our player, we get the reference. So now we need this reference. I'm going to take as player, and it's going to be our target. So this get activated, set the speed of our character, move the AI character to itself because we want to target this AI, and it's chasing our player. Okay. So here we're just going to move on the side here. So on success, so if that's success, we're going to call a custom event called AI attack. Right? So we're just going to create another custom event. which is going to be our AI attack, so which is going to contain a logic to have our AI attack the player. So now we can select AI attack, and if it's failed because the player move away or the player is too far or whatever happened, we want to call the chase once again. So if the AI cannot attack when it reaches the location of where the player is, it's going to continue chasing the player. Okay, so we can select all that and do a C. Just to put a little comment here, our command will be chase player around the level. So chase player around the level or around the map, as to say, because I called all my map. Push it down here. There's another thing I want to do first. Okay, so now I also want the AI to be able to move by itself. So if the AI does, if the IA doesn't see the player for X reason, there's an obstruction or something like this. I want to have the AI walk around the level, kind of continue searching until they see the player again. So for doing that, we're going to create another custom event. And this custom event will be called IA random patrol. Same as earlier, we're going to take our character movement, just drag and drop. And from that, we're going to set our max walk speed. So set max walk speed. And we can connect that together. Now we need another variable here, the set max walk speed. So that is going to be a variable for a little bit like this one, but instead it's going to have a slower pace to it. So we're going to set up and call it max walk speed, but we're going to put patrol. And we can compile. Now the number that we're going to put here is going to be 300. So it's a little bit slower than when it chases the player, but you can obviously put the number that you want. So we have that here. Same thing again. We're gonna take that variable now and just plug it there, and we should be all set for that. And I'm gonna put that right here because I find it a little bit easier to read like this. Okay, so from that we're gonna do the same as when we're trying to move. So IA move patrol, or sorry, move to, not move patrol, but move to. Once more, the pound that we're selecting, it's the pound itself because we're already in the AI, so we have just to say self. The destination that we want, well, now we want the AI to go randomly around the level. So we're gonna go from the destination here. We'll drag down here and we're gonna search for something called get radius reachable endpoint, which that allowed us to set some value to have our AI play in those values. Okay, so the origin will be get our actor location, okay, which is the location currently of our actor, if I'm not mistaken. And the radius that we want to go, well, we're gonna search for a random float in a range, which is this one right here. And we want the minimum distance that we want our AI to go. Well, we'll put 2000, max to 5000. So our AI will move between those two values, so it can move just a little bit or do a long run. I'm gonna move here on the side. So if this succeed, we're gonna do a delay, right? And the duration of that delay, we're gonna do that a random again. So random float in range. You don't have to do, you could put like 1 second, so 0.5, whatever you need. what I'm trying to do here is that each AI will not stay at the same place at the same time. So it's not going to be always 1 second. It's going to be playing from 0.1 seconds to 2 seconds, for example. So the AI will wait between 0.5 seconds and 2 seconds before continuing. Okay, and if it's do that even on fail, so if succeed or fail, it's going to go back on patrol. And if we complete that, well, we're going to call our random patrol once more. So now we can select all that, do C on our keyboard to do a command. This will be move the AI randomly around the map, which I'm going to put in bracket. So I'm going to put a bracket here because there's something important that we need to know. So we're going to call that important to put auto process on our AI that is placed in the world span. So when we're going to spawn our AI, it's important that we put that to auto spawn AI process. Because if we don't do that, it's not going to move even if our code is correct. And sometime when you forget to check this box that we're going to do later, your AI won't move. And if it doesn't move, you think that there's a mistake in your code. But at the end, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the code. It's just a checkbox somewhere that was not checked, right? You'll see that later when we go to it, but I always put it here. So even when you used to program stuff, sometime you forget and you're like, why it's not working? So I try to always put in bracket things that I believe that I may forget for X reason. So that way it's remind myself that to have this working, we need something else somewhere else to have that code working. Now we want to use our box collision, not our box collision, but we want to apply damage. So when we hit, so basically if we hit the AI, I want the AI to get damage or do damage. Wait a sec. Let me check this out correctly. So I want to make sure I give you the good information. So this will be when the AI take damage. So we go all the way down here. So on it component is the one that I want. Gonna bring that a little bit right here. So when our AI get hit, we want to apply damage. So we're gonna drag from that and just search for apply damage. And the damage actor will be self, because we want to do damage to this actor. And the base damage will be, I don't know, 5. And when we apply damage, we need to make sure that the AI lose some health. Okay, to do that, we have to create once more another custom event. So you can see that it's getting like complicated at some point because there's like we always go down, 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 and it's just for basic having the AI move, attack, and get damage. So there's you can see that it can get very, very complicated. Now it's going to be called IA health. And now from here, we can call that IA health. So we're just going to drag from this and call IA health. And the return value will be right here. We cannot put it here right now, but it's going to go right here. It won't be too long because we're going to click on our IA health right here. And we're going to add an input, just one input, not two, just one. I'm going to call that health. I'm going to change that to a float. I'm going to compile. And now if we go up here, we have it. So the damage that is here will be exiting here and go right here, which is there. And we can do our calculation to remove health from our AI. So we look to this now, we can set our elt, which means that we're gonna need a variable for our elt to store the elt of the enemy. We're gonna create a new variable, call that elt. We're gonna compile, so give us access to the default value of elt, which will be 5. And you can put the number that you want, but we're gonna put 5, so as soon as we shoot the enemy, it's gonna die. However, you can create child of this blueprint and make more health to specific enemy. Okay, so this is just the base enemy. Don't forget about that. So it's just the logic for all our enemies. So AI elt, so now we can take our elt. We're gonna set our elt, and the way we're gonna set that, we're gonna take our elt right here, put it there as well. We're gonna do a get. So here, we're gonna take that, we're gonna do a minus, subtract. We're gonna subtract the elt right here, and this will be connected right there. So when we're here, we shoot at the AI will register that we hit the collision box. It's going to apply basic damage of 5. Going to call the AI elt. The AI elt here will go from here. It's going to be minus this. So 5 damage will go through this, which is the elt of our enemy at this time. So 5, and we'll set that new value, which now will be 0. So if you have 10, it's going to set the value to 5. Okay. So we'll go there. We're going to do a branch, and the condition will be less or equal. We're going to take our elt one more. I'm going to plug it right on the top here. So if our elt is equal, so minus or equal to 0. So here we need to have our AI death or AI destroy or whatever you want to call that. So we're going to create another custom event. This custom event will be called IA death. And now we can call this right here IA death. Okay? So there is no more elt. It's going to call the destruction of our AI. If there is some more elt, it's going to do absolutely nothing, and the AI will continue chasing the player around. Now we're going to do our AI death. So from here, we're going to drag and search for a spawn emitter at location. This will play a certain animation that we select to have our AI be destroyed. Obviously, it's not going to destroy the AI, but it's going to do a visual cue to our player to say, hey, the AI is destroyed, instead of just having the AI disappear from the map. Here, we're going to select what is coming from the start in our package. So we have the explosion here, so we can select the explosion. Once more, if you don't have access to this, you can always go to content browser, add, and you can add feature and content package. And in content here, that's the starter pack, just in case it's not in your project yet. From that, we're good. So the location will be the location of our actor. So we want this explosion to be right on the top of our actor. So we have to tell that we want that to be at location of the actor. And you can change the scale of the explosion right here if you think it's too big or not big enough. So from that, we want to play a sound. So we're going to do play sound. We want to play the sound at location, or you can play a sound that will play everywhere in the level. Just for this case, we're going to use play at location because we want the sound to be exactly where the AI is. It's not going to change anything too much because it's just a single player. But if it was not a single player, it will do a difference, obviously. From that, we can take a sound and create a new variable. So you can select the sound that you want to keep that very simple. but we don't always want the enemy to do the same sound. It's kind of boring. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new variable, and this variable, we're going to call that sound. And here we're going to change the value here, and I'm going to search for sound base. So this one here, and I'm going to take the object reference, and we're going to compile. Now if we take that sound, and we do a get, we see that if we compile, we have one sound here. We can only put one, but we want more sound, right? So we can go here on variable type and just change that for an array. I'm going to change and say yes. And now if we compile, we can see that now we have access to put more sound. So we can click twice. So we're going to have two index, which we can have two sound, so on and so forth. So you can put as much as you want. So we're going to search for explosion. I'm going to take explosion 1. And why not taking explosion 2, right? So now we're going to have those two sounds. So we can browse to it, explosion 1 and explosion 2. Right? It's very, very similar. Actually, I think it's exactly the same. You could put this sound if you want, right? So just to give you an idea that now you can put different sound here as much as you want. So instead of having always the same sound, now it's going to be a little bit more enjoyable. So from that, we're going to drag and search for random. And I'm going to take the first one here, and we're going to plug it right there to our sound selection. And the location that we want to play the sound, as I said before, we want the sound to at the same location of our actor, which is our AI. So we can just drag all the way up here. If you double click, you can just do a reroute, and it's going to look a little bit better in your code. Okay. There we go. So now we can compile. We can move on the side here. So when our AI get destroyed, well, we want the AI to be destroyed, right? So it's gonna do the explosion animation, play the sound, gonna go with it, and make it disappear from the map. Later on, right here, when we kill the enemy, we want to increase our score and also removing one enemy from the map. So here we're gonna have a little logic later that will work in conjunction with our GM wave based system that I was speaking a little bit earlier, that there's two things at the same time. So here we're gonna have to come back and put something here. So I don't want to forget, so I'm just gonna drag and do a comment here, and just gonna drag it up here. Okay, and here's gonna be our enemy count when destroyed. Okay, so here we're gonna have something later, but we're not gonna bother with that at this time. So now we're gonna zoom out, select all our code for when we destroy our enemy, click C to put a comment. So here, what this code is doing for? Well, it's found an emitter, okay, and it's create a sound and call enemies killed in our GM waves to remove one enemy from the level and destroy the actor. So we're going to select all that, do a comment here. So we spawn an emitter, which will be this explosion right here. We'll do a sound, which is one of those two sounds we selected. It's going to go on our GM base, make sure that the AI is destroyed and count. So if you have 4 enemies, now it's going to display only 3 enemies. And when there's 0 enemy, it's going to trigger something in the GM that's going to start the next wave. Okay. And after that, it's destroying the actor. So now we can do the attack logic. Actually, we can maybe just move that down here. Put the attack there because the destruction of the AI is the last thing that happened. So our AI attack here, it's going to be simple. So we're going to do branch, hold B on your keyboard to do branch. And we're going to take as player, which is right here. We're going to drag and drop it there. So now when we attack, we want to see if the player is destroyed or still alive. So we should have a variable inside called player dead or player is dead or whatever we call it. So we're going to go see if it's there. We have player dead. Okay, so it's exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to go there and search for player dead and we can plug it there. So if the player is dead, it means that's going to be true. We want the AI to go back on random patrol. If the player is not dead, well, what we want to do, we want to, this means it's going to be false because the player is still alive. We're going to do once. From our do once here, we're going to apply damage. How much damage that we want our AI to do to the player. We can do a base of 10. However, you could click there and promote your variable, which is the base damage. And now from this variable, all our enemy will be able to do a different amount of damage to our player. So who we want to damage? The player right here. So we can connect it right there. There we go. So now the AI attack, if it's true that the player is dead after the attack, the AI will go on random patrol. If it's not, it's going to continue attacking. We're going to wait a delay of 0.2 seconds and we're going to call back our IA chase player. Because if the player have moved since, we want the AI to go and chase the player once again. And this will reset our do once. Okay. If you don't put a do once, if I'm not mistaken, what's going to happen is that as soon as the AI will be next to the player, you're going to see the enemy kill the player almost instantly. It's just going to drain the health of your player in like a second, which is not what we want. We don't want the AI to trigger this attack like, I don't know, 10,000 times in 1 second. I don't know if it's the number, but it's just an example. So by doing once here in 0.2 seconds, the AI can only attack every 0.2 seconds. So we're going to compile this. And now we can select all that code, do a comment, and we're going to call that AI attack. And this is the health of our players. I forget to put a comment, so we're just going to do a comment on that as well. And this will be AI takes damage and when health is depleted, it's called the death event. Perfect. And I believe I forget to do a comment on this one as well. So I'm gonna do a comment on that and call it IA on hit damage and call event health. Perfect. And I'm gonna compile. So I think we're done. So we should have our AI be able to move with all that. And we're all set for the AI, I believe. So if we load the map here and place our base AI, I know it's not the A, that's the base AI, but I just want to see if it's gonna work. You can see the AI is right there, but it's not moving right now, okay? Because there's few things that we have to do first. So as I said earlier, right here, auto possess when spawned in world. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our map, select our AI here, and we should have something, let's say auto possess or possess. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. We have auto possess right here. So when we select our AI base enemy here, we have auto possess and auto possess AI. So we don't want the player to possess this character, so we're going to leave that as disabled. We want the auto possess for IA or AI, sorry, not place in wall, but place in wall or spawn. Okay, now it's set up for that. So we can even go in the AI base enemy here, and I believe we can search for, if we select the base here, we do possess. There you go. We can select it by default right here. So by default now, every enemy will have place in wall or spawn, which will be able to have the AI take possession of this blueprint. Okay. But if you do play now, you'll see that, hey, we did place or spawn, but the AI does not move. Well, it's because we need an extra thing. I know we need like always a million things. It's just the way it's work. Nothing is easy, I guess. Okay, so we're gonna need something that we call nav mesh. So we're gonna search here and place actor. A nav mesh that we should have right here. I think it's this one here. So let's take that and put it right there. Now, if we have that selected and click space, we can resize it. So what I want to do, I want to resize right here. So it's going to cover my entire map. Something like this. Okay, and if we press P, so now we can see there is green. It's mean that the AI can walk where there's green, but we want green on the bottom as well. Well, we're just going to extend that a little bigger. So now it's going to cover everything. So you can see that the AI can go everywhere in that level. So now we can just save all. Now if we do play, well, this AI does very well. You see, I'm dead. So the AI can attack me. So I'm gonna do new game. So the AI is there, and so the AI is attacking me. So can we shoot the AI? Gonna take the gun. There we go. So you can see that it's working. It's not working perfectly yet, but we're getting there. So now we can take our gun, shoot at the AI, and the AI can even chase us. It's a little bit fast, so we can go to the AI, go to the max walk speed right here, and change that to, I don't know, 400. Fly. Now we're gonna take that. So if I pass next to the AI, there we go. Now the AI is chasing me and really love me. There we go. Perfect. There you go. Get that. So there's something wrong because the AI does not go on patrol by itself. So at even begin play here, just gonna extend that a little bit. We're gonna call the patrol or random patrol. So when the AI get created, it's gonna cast to our player to the reference and do the random patrol. There we go. So now we can see that the AI is chilling randomly in the level. Oh, now they see me and they chase me. Oh, lost me. And now I'm here. Oh my god, it's chasing me. But you can see that it's chasing and kind of, here we go. Now it's working. The eye is chasing me. I don't know if I can, there we go. Now lost me. And just go back on patrol somewhere. So we can play with the value in our graph here to have the AI chase differently and change the timing and all that. But we can see that the AI is able to go anywhere in the level and can chase the player, can kill the player, and also destroy the AI as well. So we can see that all logic is working pretty well. Now it's just to do a little bit of tweak there and there to have the AI really follow correctly the player and having the AI go on patrol when they don't see the player. So obviously you can have fun playing with those numbers and just have that the way you want. But for now, I think that will be it for this video. Hello everyone. Today we're gonna do our game mode wave-based system. So we're gonna have the logic of the game. It's going to be units gonna spawn, the enemy unit a little bit everywhere in the level, and when they're all eliminated, a new wave will start, and so on and so forth until the player win the game. So it's gonna be simple for that. However, the code is the big meat and potato for this logic here. So there's a lot of code, so it might take quite some time to do. First, we're going to go to our core here, and we're gonna go to our game mode. And here in the game mode, we're gonna create and we'll do a blueprint class. And now we just need to select game mode, and we're just going to call this game mode underscore or wave and base. So we're gonna open this, and here we have an empty blueprint, so we're not really concerned about this page here. So what we're looking for is everything in the event graph. And from the event begin play here, we're going to start to do some logic, and we're going to search for a sequence. So we're going to use that just to keep that organized instead of having everything free fall. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to cast to our my instance. So we have the instance that we created a little bit earlier in other videos. We're going to create that. So the object obviously would be the game instance. And we need a reference for this, so we can just drive from that and promote to variable. There we go. Now we have our variable here. So we're going to try to keep that organized here because it's going to be a lot of variable, and if it's not organized, it's going to be terrible. First thing we're going to do, we're just going to create some folders and things like this. So this, because it's a reference, we're just going to go here in the detail panel when it's selected, and we're going to create a category just by changing the default name. So I'm just going to put ref. And now you can see it's going under ref. So we're going to create all the variable that we need, and after that we should be all fine. So the first variable we're going to create, it's going to be called next level to play, and we're going to change that, and it's going to be name. Okay, and we're going to put that under the category of levels. I'm going to create another variable, and this one will be the enemy left. Type will be an integer, and we're going to change the default value here to enemies. So now with this, we can just take this one, just duplicate, and we're going to change the name for enemy total. Same thing is going to stay integer. Okay. After that, we have the enemy class, which would be an actor. So we're going to click variable, enemy class, and we're going to select actor. So we don't have actor here, but we can just search for actor on the top here, and we shall have the actor, and we want to do a class reference. Okay, so obviously now it's meaning nothing because I'm just creating the variable, but when we're going to start using it, it's going to make sense. Okay, so we're going to make sure that this go under enemy as well. So from that, now we're going to do another variable, and it's going to be for a wave. So we're going to have our current wave, and we're going to create another one for our max wave. And we're going to select the current wave, and we're just going to change the name for waves, and we can just take the max wave here and just drop it there. Both will need to be changed here for the type to an integer, so we're going to do that for both. There we go. So we're getting there, and now we're going to create another one. It's going to be called score, and we're going to put that in the default value here to score. There we go. and we're just going to continue here at event begin play. So we'll cast to our game instance to have a reference to it, so we can load our game later using this. So from then number 1 here, we're going to cast to our widget blueprint player. So the widget blueprint player odd. So the reference object is a user widget. Okay, so we're going to drag from that, and you can see that you cannot really do anything with that. So we can create a variable called user widget, and we should be set for that. So we're going to go here, create a variable. We're going to call that as user widget. We're going to change the value here for user widget. And we have it here. We're going to take an object reference. We're going to compile so we can use it. Now I say we need an object reference here, and the object that we need here is a user widget. So we're going to just take this, put it there, and just plug it right there. Now when we compile, it's removing the error. So now we're going to create, a reference, so a promotion, promote that to a variable. Well, it's kind of a promotion when you think about it. And we're going to use that later on, and we're just going to add a little delay here. Okay, so we need a little bit more than that to our sequence. Obviously, you could put everything back to back, but I prefer it like this. It's easier to read, and everything is about able to find your code fast. So from number 2 here, we're going to search for delay, and we're going to have our wave increment right here. So we don't have it yet. So what we can do, we could create that custom event. So we're just going to create a custom event, and we're going to call that waves increment. So now we're going to use that later, but for now we do have access to it because we just created it. So we can do a wave increment and just continue our code for now. So from number 3, we're going to drag, and we need our player controller here because we want to set the game just to game only, not game only NUI, just game only. So we're going to search for our get player controller that is right here. From that, we're just going to drag from the return value. Now we can set input. Oh my God, I don't know how to write. Input, and it's going to be the game only. And now we can plug that to number 3 up here. And from the get player controller, we can say show mouse cursor. So we can set the show mouse cursor right there. And here we're going to load our game if we have anything to load from this. Okay. So if you were taking, for example, the game instance and put it there and do get, you want to load, but we didn't do any code in the game instance, so we cannot go and get load game to do the logic to load our game, but I'm gonna leave it here. We can just maybe put a little comment here saying that it's gonna be our load. Oh my God, I don't know how to write lately. Load save. It's gonna be going right here, right? So we don't forget about it. And we can continue for now. Well, from 4, if we want any music to play in our level, we can do a play sound 2D, and we can select what we want to play. However, each level should have a different music, depending what you like. So if you put a music straight up here, it's going to be the same music for all your levels. But if you drag from sound and you promote that to a variable, and we're going to change that for music. Now, one in each level, we have to keep in mind this is the base, so it just is just the logic to have our game work. But each level will have a different wave system. that we're going to use for that specific level. So to change few different parameters that we're going to have in our game wave base. So in this case, for the sound, for the music, so the bass has no sound in it, but when I'm going to do, for example, level 1 wave or wave level 1, we're going to have access to this, able to put a music 1 level 2, going to be wave level 2, and we're going to be able to select a different music and so on and so forth. So that's why I do it that way. Okay. So we're going to go a little bit down here, and now we have our wave increment. So we're going to start with this here that we just created not long ago. Here we're going to start to make the logic for what we need. Okay. So just to have an idea what we're going to do here, we're going to start with a branch, or it can all be, or just search for branch. And now you have access to your branch. Here it's going to be quite simple to understand, I believe, here. So we're going to search for our current wave. So we have our current wave that we already created here. And I put an S here, so we don't need an S. There you go. So we're going to drag our current wave here, do a get, and take our max wave and do a get. So from those two here, if you click on the wave itself, it's a current wave. You see it's not compiled, so we're going to compile. Current wave 0. And if you click on max wave, there's 0 as well. So how much wave do you want per level before going to the next level? Right? We're going to keep that very simple. We're going to put 5 wave. And the current wave will be obviously 0. So from current wave, we're going to search for equal. All right, we're going to take equal. And those two. So those two need to be equal. If they are, we're going to win here. We're going to have the win condition. Okay. So we need to create a custom event. So we're going to create a custom event, win condition. And now we have access to call it from here. So win condition, and we're all set. So if those two are the same value, it's going to call the win condition that we're going to do right after. And the player will win the game. It's going to call the next level. And we're going to be able to continue playing the game. If it's not true, it means that those two here are not the same number yet. It means that it's not going to be true, so it's going to be false. What we're going to do, we're going to take our current wave, we're going to do a get, we're going to search for plus, right? But we don't want the plus like this, we want the increment plus. So with search, we have increment, so that's this one that we want. So instead of putting a number, this one will automatically increment by 1. And here, we're going to have a dispatcher that we're going to use to call our dispatcher wave. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit deeper later in dispatcher, but we're going to use dispatcher, which is basically when the code will arrive there, it's going to shout out to all the blueprints, hey, there's something going on, and the blueprint that know what to do with it will take action. It's very, very basic. Obviously, it's not how that works exactly, but it's around those lines just to be able to understand. So we're going to have a dispatcher here. So to create a dispatcher, we have even dispatcher right here. So we can just create dispatcher, and this one will be call dispatcher, and it's going to be waves. Okay. And when you click on the wave dispatcher, so if you click on it, you have the detail panel right here. So we need an input here. So we're going to create an input, create a new parameter for input. This will be called get next wave format. We're going to change the type for text. Okay. This, it's all good. Actually, it's just going to be dispatcher and not call dispatcher. So just dispatcher wave. We're going to go all the way down. We're going to compile. And now we're all set. So we're going to take that dispatcher, put it up here. We're going to search for call, and we're just going to plug it there for now. Okay, here we need something. So here we need a little something to put there to get the next wave to have our format for a wave. So what we're gonna do, and do a little function that we're gonna use here. So instead of doing all the code down here just to have what I need here, we're going just to do a function here and plug the function there. So it's gonna keep that a little bit more tidy. It's gonna look a little bit better. Okay. So we're gonna create a function. Now we have our new function here. We're going to call this function get wave text format. And this is ready. Very easy. We're gonna drag from there. We're gonna search for the return node. Now we have our return node. We're all good with that. We're gonna take the current wave that we're just playing with it, with the get and the max wave that we're just playing with it as well. Take those two here. I'm gonna search for format text. So format. Oh, actually, we're gonna drag from there, I believe. Wait a sec. It's gonna be easier if we create an output first and that we put text. Perfect. We have text. It's gonna be our result. And from that, now we can drag and search for the format text. Right. So the format text that we're trying to do here. So it's this one here. So when we type that way, so you're able to, so you do your cone here, you do current wave to say this one, slash, close your cone, do a slash, open your cone, and do a max wave and close it. So now you're gonna have the two written down here. So now you can plug those two together and we're all set with that. Okay. So this is just getting the format that we want to write the text. Okay. So we're going to go back there and now we can just take that format here and plug it right there. Not like this. Okay. You could put it obviously like this, but that doesn't look good. We don't want that. So if you go and get wave format, there's a little option here for pure. Just check this box and compile. And now when you take it, whoop, you see it's looking like the other little node that we have in our code sometime, right? A little bit like this one here for the get player controller. This looks similar to this. So it's a little bit tidy up and we're all good with that. Okay. And here we're gonna call the wave start spawn enemy. We don't have it yet, but it's gonna be right there. So what we can do, we can just create it so that way we already have it in our code. So it's gonna be further down. We're gonna do a custom event and we're just gonna call that wave start slash spawn enemies. There we go. Now if we go back up, we're gonna have access to call that. So we can call it after our dispatcher and just search for our wave and spawn enemy. Right there. That's exactly what we need for now. Okay, so we're all good with that. So if we take all that and do C here to get a comment, so we're just gonna write what it's doing for us, okay? Because we might not exactly remember what it's doing. So I'm just gonna write it up for you here. So if our current wave does not equal our max wave, it is calling the dispatcher. So the dispatcher wave that we just created. And here is going to advise color blueprint, as I said earlier. Blueprints that a new wave is starting. No, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Okay. And here, if the current wave equal max wave, the conditions are met. There we go. We have it here. We can select all that and put a bubble. So when we zoom out, we can read it. Okay. So as we can see here, if our current wave, the wave that we're already playing on it, it's not equal, as I said here at the beginning, it's going to call the dispatcher wave to advise all the other blueprint by using this here. saying that a new wave is starting. If those two here are equal, it means that the conditions are met, and it's gonna call win condition. So here it's gonna be the conditions are met, and we'll call the win condition here. Win conditions. There we go. So we're all set with that. This is what that little code is doing for us here. Let's go for the win condition now. So the win condition, well, we're gonna same thing. We're gonna start with sequence. I love sequence. Just keep that a little bit more organized. Here we're gonna create widget, and we're gonna create the win widget blueprint. I don't think so. We already have that widget created here in the UI. No, we don't have the win widget here. Really easy. We're just gonna do and create one now. So we're gonna go user interface, widget blueprint, and we're going to get user widget blueprint, and we're going to just call that wb win underscore condition. So we have our win condition right here. Okay, it's empty, but at least we can continue our code here by clicking on it and searching for the win condition right here. Now we do have it, so we're all good. So for that specific widget, we need to promote that to a variable to have access to it later on. So we're just going to promote it. We're going to change a variable name here and call that as widget win. And I'm just going to make sure that I put it under the reference up here. Keep that organized. You see, I have a reference right there. And I have this one right here. So we're going to do the same. We're going to put it up there. Let's keep organized and tidy. And we'll have the music here for sound. So the music, I believe, I didn't put it in category because it's the only one, so no big deal, but you could click here and just put music slash sound and put it right there. There we go. It's more organized, look better. So when that is done, we're gonna add that to our viewport, right? Oops. We want to be able to display to the player that they met the condition to win the game. And here from this widget here, we're gonna have the display the text here on the screen for us. So we're gonna do that later. After that, we're gonna do a timer. So what I mean is that when we win, I don't want that to load directly to the next map. I want a countdown, like for example, 5, 3, 2, 1, and next level start. Something like, or next wave start. Something around those lines. From here, we have to create a new custom event. Once again, I know there's a lot on the side here. I'm just going to create custom event. We're going to call that timer next level. Okay, we're going to do the logic later, but for now we have it so we can continue our code here. Now we can drag from it and do timer next level. Now we have a timer next level, all set for that. That's perfect. So we can drag from that. We're going to search for a little delay, and the duration would be as or widget blueprint. It's going to be the win one. So this one here that we have to have access. So this one here that we need. So we're going to take the reference for our as widget blueprint win, do a get, and from that we have to drag and search for timer. But the problem, as I said earlier, it's that we don't have any variable yet created in that widget. Okay, so that widget here, that interface, we need to add few things. So, but it's not created yet, so we cannot add what we need here. So what we're gonna do, just for now, just gonna put a little comment here, and it's gonna be the timer. Okay, so obviously we have a lot of go back and forth when we do things, especially on the game mode, because we need a lot of stuff created, and that's how that works a little bit. Obviously could be probably a little bit better, but it's not created, so should have created that way before, but it's not. So we're just going to put that here, and we're going to be able to use it a little bit later. So when that is done, we need to open the next level. And the next level is going to be the next level to play, which is right here. Just going to plug this variable right there. So as I said earlier, the game wave base is just the logic for all the waves. But when you're in different level, you can have different map name, and it's where this will start to make sense, as we're going to be able to use that for different wave level that we're going to have. So if you have 5 levels, going to have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be kids from this blueprint, and we're going to have access to this variable, and we're going to be able to tell what level or which level we should use. Oh, and here, just going to put a little comment, right, just to remind us what we need. And here, that little comment will just display our one text. And we're going to compile. So now we're going to take all that, and we're going to say that it's create the widget blueprint when condition and call the display one text that we're going to have right here, even and inside widget blueprint when conditions to display text on the screen. So it's a little bit what it's doing for us. So when we win, because our two are equal, it's going to call win conditions, it's going to create that widget for us, display it on the screen, and display the text that we are winning, that we won. If not, it means that, right after that it's displayed this, it's going to call timer here that we don't have yet, but we're going to have a timer here. It's going to be 5, 3, 2, 1. Boom. It's going to load the next level, and we're ready to continue playing. Okay. So I think I'm just going to stop this video here for now, just to continue, because there's a lot more to do. And I'm just going to take a little break before continuing to do the rest of that blueprint. Okay, so I'll catch you on the next one. Hey, welcome back. Today we're just going to continue our wave-based systems. So we are here on the win conditions. Here we know that we have the win condition that called, and we'll go to the sequence, and we're creating our widget blueprint for the condition of winning, which is going to display something on the screen for the player, and is going to put it on the screen for the player as we use add viewport. And here we want to display the text widget blueprint kind of. Let me see if I can show you that here. So that's the other project, and so basically that's going to be this AI, that's UI here, and we're going to display this text. So as you see, display one. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to display this text, and here we have the countdown for the next wave. So 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's going to load to the next map. Okay. Obviously, it's not going to be right now, but we're going to set up this so this is working. Okay. We're going to move that out of the way. So basically here, we're going to go to our content browser, and we have under our UI content here, we have the widget blueprint that we need to use here. So first, we're going to create a canvas panel. I'm just going to drag and drop here, the canvas panel, so we're good with that. Now we want to add a text to that canvas panel. So right here on the palette, we're going to search for a text, and we're going to take this text right here, just drag and drop there. So we will like this text to be in the middle. So we're going to make sure that it's anchored to the top here. Okay. And obviously we can play with the location after, but I want it around here. I will say we're going to put the position on the X here, just at -4. So right there. And we're going to put that at 152. And here I'm going to put that at 152 as well, right here. So we have the size here that we're good, and here we're just going to put 0.5, so that way it's going to be right perfectly in the middle around where I want my text to be. So we're going to click on that text, and we're gonna make sure that we put a name to that. So it's gonna be text blocks 1, and here the text that we want to change in the content. So it's gonna be display here. It's gonna be U1 or whatever you want to put there. So we can play with the color. So I will do like the other example, a little kind of purple color, and with the text here, make sure that we can do size to content, so that way it's perfectly in the box. And if we go down here, we can change some settings. So I like to put the outliner, so I like to put number 3, I believe, or 5. 5 would be good, I guess. And it's doing that big black line around. So this text is the text that's going to make appear and disappear. So now we're going to need to select the canvas panel and search for horizontal box. So let's try to find that here. And we're just going to put that right to the canvas panel. There we go. We have it right here. So we're going to select this box, and in this box, we're going to put another text. So we're going to search for text once more. This time we're going to drag it on the horizontal box. So it's going to be placed right under. So that box will be placed around here, so around the same location. So we're going to select the box, make sure that we anchor that to the middle here. So now we can reset the position, and now it's around here. So we're going to make sure that we size the content as well, so the box take all the text. Now we can place it where we want. So around here, and I want that to be way smaller than that. So I'm going to select the text, and with the text here, we're just going to put that smaller, so we can change the setting here, and we can even put some outliners. So we'll put 3, or even maybe just 1, so we can play with that. So we need that to be a little bit smaller. So let's see if I put 10 maybe. Now we have the text. It's a little bit too small, I believe, so maybe I should leave it. Yeah, I could probably just leave it as this for now. So there we go. So we have our text here. So we should be good. And we have the horizontal box that we can maybe just move that a little bit so it's more center. And I think that can be good. So we can even change a little bit the layout of that. So we can reset that. Whoops. Not exactly what I wanted to do. I'm going to replace it around this. You can even move that if you want it to be always there. I'm just leave it up here because I'm not too concerned about that for now. And I'm going to make sure that we put 0.5 and 0.5 for our horizontal box. So now it's ready in the center. So when we reset, this time it should be perfectly placed in the center. Now we can just adjust the position on the Y. So to be right under. There you go. Around this. That's pretty good. We can play with the details later, or we can do that by yourself. So I don't want to spend too much time playing on that because it's not very the important part. So we're going to click on that text here. And now we're going to name this. So this will be our text blocks next level. And the name of it, well, now we can put a name. We need to use a little function for that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to create a binding for this. Now it's going to bring us to function here. We're just going to move that out of the way. And we're just going to call that next level. So that's pretty good. So I like to modify the name a little bit because I don't like it when it's like this. We can just remove the get, and I like to keep it a little bit shorter. Obviously, you can put whatever you want. And here we just move the return value a little bit more down there. So we need a variable for timer. So we have no variable here, so we have to create one. So we're just going to create here under variable. We need our little timer, so we can call that just timer. We're going to change the type for an integer because it's number 1, 2, 3. There's no decimal number. So we're going to take that. Now we can move it right there, do a get. And now we're going to take that and we're going to convert that to a text. So that way, we're going to do a text integer, right? We're going to convert that to text so we can see it on the screen. And all the settings are pretty good. So we're going to put 2 here, and I'm going to put 2 here max. So only 2 digit, and on C just 2 as well for the minimum numbers I want. If it's 0, 1, it's going to display 0 and 1, and the maximum digit will be only 2, which can be 1199, 88, 85, whatever, right? So from that, we're going to call from the return value, which I mean we're going to drag, and we're going to do format text. I'm going to format this text to the return value right here. Now we need to change that so we have our format text here. So we need to write something here. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to call that next level. Okay, so it's going to display this on the screen. So it's going to display automatically next level in and the time that we want. So we need to open the bracket here. So I may have just an issue with opening that because my keyboard is probably set up to another language. So let's put it to US Canada here. So now I can open those little cone. I call that cone. I don't know what is the real name for it. And I'm going to put time and close those little cones. So another bracket, but the one with the little pike at the end. Sorry, I don't know the name of it. So from the return value, we're just going to connect that to time here. So now by default, if we compile and we go back to our graph here, so under design, we have our text blocks here. But when it's going to display that specific widget, it's going to display next level in and the time, which will be the time that we're going to set up in a few minutes. So we're going to go back to designer tab. So now we have our win condition, make sure it's compiled. Now we can go back to our wave-based system. And here, right after the viewport, now we can call our display text. So we're going to drag from our widget because the value that we're looking to get is from our widget blueprint. So that's really important that we are dragging from this location. Otherwise, we won't have access to what we're looking for. Okay. Now here, so if we go back there. So our text you want here, we need to make sure it's a variable so we can see it. And same thing with our text block next level. Make sure we check those 2 boxes. Wave-based system. So now we can drag from that, and we should be able to get the text that we're looking for. And now we can search for 1. So now we get the text 1. Okay. So we have it here. So that's pretty convenient. This one that we want to access, but we have to do a little modification to it. I just noticed that. So we're going to go back to our event graph for our win conditions here. And that we're just going to create custom event, and we're going to call that display 1 text. Okay. The text we want to display, that's the same that we just put in, but we're going to use that instead of just putting the variable right straight through. So we're going to take our text block 1 here, just going to drag and drop, right? And from that now we can drag from it and just set the visibility. So we're going to set the visibility to visible. I'm going to make sure it's connected like this. And we should be all set now. So now we can compile this. If we go back this time for the real one in our wave-based system, if we drag from our widget condition here, we can display our text here. So you see we have the display name and this one that we want. So now we have it. Okay, so what it's doing for us is that when it's going to create that widget for condition here, it's going to add it to viewport, and it's going to make sure that the text is displayed as well. Okay, and we're good with that. So now if we go back here, we want the timer this time. Now we want to have access to the timer for this little text here. So the one that will be here. That's going to display how many seconds remain for the next level or next wave or whatever you want to implement. It's going to be displayed right here. So we need to do something for the timer here. So let's see how we can do that. So as the widget condition here, we do have our timer. This time that is right here. That's exactly what we want. So we need to set our timer. So we're going to go back to our wave system. We already have our reference to this widget blueprint, which is this one here. We can drag from it and we can search for time. And now we can get our time, which is this one here. And we can plug it right there to the duration. Okay. So now it's going to display that for the next level. And if we click on the timer next level, that is just next to it. Now we're just going to set up that as well. So from there, we're going to do a custom event. I know it's get confusing. It's just the way I did it. I think it's work better that way, give you a little bit more option to work with your stuff. So from there here, we're going to set a timer by event. So set timer by event. So we're going to take this one, and the event here will be this countdown right here. Okay. So we're going to put the time to 1. And we're going to create a reference to this. So we can just drag and promote that to a variable. And I'm going to call that as set timer by event. There we go. So we're good with that. So now it's connected. So the countdown, well, is going to be as our win condition. So we should have that here, which is this one here. So we're going to take that and do a get. So now it's going to give us access to that timer that we created a few minutes ago. So this one right here, right? So we use this one. So this timer here that we can use now. So now we can drag from it and just search for our timer. So let's get our timer, get timer. Now we're going to get our timer and we're going to search for minus, so subtraction, which will be, I believe we're going to use this one here. Let me check. Yeah. So we are looking for subtraction and we're going to use decrement here, not this subtract. So this one here. We're going to connect those two together like so. And we're going to search for equal. So we need equal. So this one here, 0. And we're going to do a branch by holding B, plug all of that together. And now from this, we can drag from our timer and now we can do a clear, because if we don't clear it, it's going to continue nonstop like so. Okay. So now when the next level is called here, when we win, we're going to create our widget, display the text you win or you won or whatever you want to display. Right after is going to start the timer for the next level, which we are taking from our widget blueprint, which is this one here. We go get the timer right here, right? This is just to display it on the screen for us. And it's going to wait a little bit that time. So it's going to time that we set up. So if we put 5 seconds, for an example, on the timer, it's going to wait 5 seconds and open the next level. So when we go there, and the next level is this little function here that set a timer, and this timer every second is going to loop. So if it's 5 seconds, it's going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because we're subtracting time from that timer instead of adding the time. If we're adding the time, you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, poof, next level. Now I'm just doing it reverse, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and next level. Okay, so when the timer arrives to 0, it's going to be true. So we clear that so we don't see it anymore. And because this delay is connected to this one here, it's going to wait until it's done and open the next level. Okay. It's a little bit confusing. I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm sorry about that if it is. It's just, I think it's just work better that way, at least for me. So if we go back to that win condition right here, so we have our timer right here. And if we go all the way down to the details here, You see we have 0. Now I want 5. Okay. And now here we go. So now we add it. So when this is display, it's gonna show up what we want to see. So just to try it, we can probably just put it right here and call our next level. So how I call that again? Win condition. So we're gonna call our win condition. So just to see if it's working. So we're gonna do play, a new game, and let's see. No, we don't see it now. Okay, so I figured out why it was not working. So we can remove that print string now. It was very, very simple. So the win condition here, I just put it on the top here, so we can put it wherever you want, obviously. The problem that I have is that at the beginning of that series, when I created the map one here, I totally forgot to do a child from the base system, and I just created another blueprint class instead of taking a blueprint class from the wave-based system. Okay, so what I did to fix that little issue here, I just right click on that and create a child blueprint here. So now everything that is contained in the wave base will be added to the child, so which is going to be map 1, which is the one right here. Okay, so I'm just going to put map 1. There we go. So now we have the map 1 here. So it's really important that when you open your level or your map 1, so which is on level here, the map 1 here, that you're changing in the wall setting here, that you're selecting your map, right? Make sure you reselect the good one. And also you're going to have to reselect, oh, I just lost it now. Give me 2 seconds at the time I find it. Okay, game mode here, the controller here, your player. Okay, you need to make sure that the default spawn that you use is your player here. I think by default it's changing to one of those characters here. I'm not too sure which one because I already fixed it. Make sure you put player, you put your new map here. So now when you do play, now you can see that the text is showing up here. Okay, and now it's going back to the default map because there is nothing. Okay, so we can see that the one text apply, but we can see our text here doesn't show up. Okay, so we have to change that. We're gonna go back to our base wave system, and we have our timer here. And we need to make sure that this is looping. Okay, so make sure we're gonna check looping, and we're gonna try that again. And now you see that our text is going 1, 2, 3, 0, and now it's loading back to the main menu because we don't have a next level. So we can see that it's working properly. To make sure that this is checked out, I forget to loop it out, so it was not working. Okay. For the convenience, I will probably already have cut the part where I'm searching why it was not working. It was a stupid mistake. I thought it was, a child from this blueprint for first map, but it was not. For X reasons, it was probably at the beginning. I created something just to have something there and totally forgot about this. So that's pretty much this for this one video. So now we have the win condition with the timer showing up and working for us. Make sure that you remove that from the top here because we won't need it for now for testing. So I will catch you on the next one. Here we go. So in the last video, we finished by the time next level here. So the timer when it's going for the next level. And so we just I forgot to put a little comment. So as you can see here, I just take everything and put that little comment up here, right? Just to have an idea what it's doing for us. So we're gonna step to the next one. So the next one will be when we have an enemy that is killed. So we're gonna do that little logic here for the wave-based system. So first we're gonna start with a custom event, and we're gonna name that. You name it wherever you want, but for me, I'm just gonna call it enemy killed. And from there, we're gonna take our enemy left that we already have the variable for. We're gonna drag and drop not the set, but the get. And from that, we can drag from it and we can do a decrement, right? Because we want to remove one each time. We don't have to subtract, just want to remove one each time. And from the enemy kill here, when we save and compile, we're gonna add an input here. And this input will be our enemy score. And we're gonna make sure that it's under integered, so that way we can count. From there, we're gonna create an event dispatcher. So every time an enemy is called, it's gonna call that dispatcher. That's gonna tell every blueprint that an enemy has been killed. So as you can see here, I already have created it. It's the second time I'm recording the video, but you can click right here, click on enemy dispatcher, and you call it dispatcher enemy remaining or whatever you want to call it. We're going to take it and we're going to call it and put it right there. So when you click on the dispatcher right here, you can see we don't have access to the detail panel on this node compared to, this one here or this one here. The detail panel show up, but this one, it's not doing it. So we need to make sure that we click on the bottom here. So now we can have access to the detail for this. Okay, we're going to make sure that we add an input here. So a new parameter. We're going to call that get enemy text format. And we're going to make sure that is a text. So when you have that, you just compile and save. And I'm going to plug those two right here. So here we need to display the format of text that we want the dispatcher to show for us. So as we did in a previous video, we had our enemy left and total right here, right? But now we need to take the same principle as this and put it right there for format text for the wave system. Oh, sorry, correction. That's the previous one that we did, and that's the one that we want to do. So you can see that's very, very similar. So to create a function, we just click here on the plus. We're gonna call that get enemy text format, and we're gonna do exactly like here. So we drag from format text, and we're gonna search for a return node, right here. When you select the return node, we're gonna add an input, and we're going to call that result and make sure that it's under text. If we do drag from the result here, we can search for format text, not format, but format text. We can take it and copy the text that you can see here on the screen. Right? It's the same as the other one that we did here. Right? So we can do the same, and when it's done, you take your enemy left and your enemy total, you plug that right there, and you're all set. Okay, before leaving that function, we're going to make sure that we select that function right here in our component panel here. So under the function here, we're going to click on it, and here we need to make sure that we put that on per, right? And we're going to go back to our event graph. So now if we take our enemy text format, drag and drop, now because we did per, we had it like this. If it's not per, it's going to show up like this. Okay, there's nothing wrong to put it like this, but as we don't need to connect those pins, we can just do a per. So it's look a little bit tidy up. So from there now, we're just gonna move and we're gonna go for our player score. We don't have it created, but we can just create it for now. So we're gonna search for custom event and we're gonna give player score for that new custom event. And now we have it here. So when our player score is selected, we're just going to select it, add an input, and this input, we're going to add an input. Here we go. And we call that enemy score. And we're going to leave that as integer, and we can save and compile. So now we're not going to do that now, but it's already there for us, so we can continue our code here. So now we can drag from that and search for enemy score. Or did I put give player score? Yeah, give player score, sorry. Give player score. Now we have access to it. Our player score is going to be the one from here. So when we kill an enemy in our enemy base system here that we have here, when enemy is killed, it's going to play a sound, and we're going to destroy that enemy here for a countdown. So if we go back here, that's this code that we are going to call, okay? And when we call that, it's going to give us a score that we predetermine in here. So we're going to drag from that and just put it right here. Double clicking or click twice on the line, we can just reorganize that and it's look a little bit better. And we can move on the side. So from there, we're going to drag and search for branch. And the branch condition, we're going to drag from it. And we're going to search for equal equal. We want to equal to something. So we're going to equal to our text, not our text, but our pin here that we do the subtraction. So we're just going to drag from it and put it on the top here. And we're going to leave that at 0. We can reroute the node so it's looking a little bit better. And from that now, if it's true, we're going to drag our wave increment area. So if we take all that, do a little bit more space, move everything else downstairs, a little bit lower, I mean. So now we're going to select all that. We're going to do a command by pressing C on our keyboard. So we're going to say that we're going to zoom. So when the enemies is reaching 0, the next wave will start. Okay, so we're gonna go through the code, just make sure we have a little bit understanding of how the thing works. On our enemy base here, actually we can do that, so it's maybe a little bit easier to understand after that. So when our enemy is killed, it's calling this, right? So we spawn that explosion here, we play the sound, and here on enemy count destroy, it's what we need to have access to. So we need to have access to this blueprint up here, right? So because now we need to have a reference to this. So if we go all the way back to our cast reference here at the beginning of our enemy, okay, we shall be able to just extend this. And from there now we can do a cast, and we're going to cast to our GM wave base here. So we need an object reference, which is our game mode, right? Because this is a game mode here. You see game mode for wave. So when we go back to our enemy here, the object reference is a game mode. So we can drag from the object and just get game mode. Okay, and we're all good for that. From this, we're just going to drag and we can promote that to a variable, and I'm gonna leave the name as is. We're gonna compile. Now, when our blueprint start, so our enemy start begin play, it's gonna cast to our player and it's gonna cast at least only once to our base system here, or a game mode wave base system, and we can now access the reference through our code, right? So we can access this reference because it's the first thing that we do when that blueprint is getting created. So we should not have any error when we try to do that reference. And we're now going to go back to our enemy dead. We're just going to plug. We're going to connect the node. Here we're going to take the reference. We can just drag and drop and do a get. And from there, now we should have access to our enemy killed that we just did. Here we go. Now we can connect those two together. So now we have a reference to this. So what we have to do now is that we have access to our enemy score, as you can see here, because we already created the score here. So we're going to pass through the score through this. So the GM base here, or the wave base, we're going to target and we're going to search for our score, right? And we're going to get the score. So we're going to take the score that it's giving us. We're going to add that. So just to add, and to the enemy score. So we should have here enemy score. We do not have an enemy score, so we're gonna create this. Okay, so when our enemy die, we need to allow them to do a certain kind of points system if you want that. So we're gonna create a new variable, and I'm just gonna call that enemy score. We're gonna make sure that it's a type integer. Compile and save. Now we can take that enemy score, drag and drop with a get, and put it right there. Okay. By default, you put the score that you want. Now it's at 0, so we're gonna leave it at 0 for now, and we can plug it right there. So when the enemy die, do the explosion, do the sound, right? And it's gonna take the reference that we already did for GM, and it's gonna call the enemy killed, because we have to tell the game that we have one enemy. One enemy that died. We need to make sure that we're taking the score that we already have in the GM base. So we have 10 points, and this one give 10 points. Now it's going to add those two together and pass that new value to this here, that enemy killed, and destroy the actor. But it's passing the information before getting destroyed, which means that's going to bring us to our GM base here. It's going to go through those nodes here, and it's going to take, if we have 5 enemy, now it's going to be 4 enemy, because it's going to remove 1. It's going to call an event dispatcher saying that, hey, there's this amount of enemy remain. Going to display that on the corner for us later on. It's going to give us some score that we're going to calculate the score here at a later time. And it's going to go through the branch, and if the condition is equal to 0, 0, it's going to call the next wave. If you have 4 enemy remain, it means that it's going to be false and nothing's going to happen. When you have no more enemy on the board, or in your game I should say, in that wave, it's going to be true and call the next wave increment that we already set up at the beginning. Right? And if our wave increment is equal to our max wave, well, we're going to display the win condition. Otherwise, we're going to start the next wave, which is right here, that we didn't set up yet. Okay, so it's maybe a little bit confusing because it's jumping a little bit back and forth, but just try to remember that when the player do an action, there is something that's going to happen, and this action is, in this case, it's killing the enemy. And when we kill the enemy, we have to tell the game that now one enemy is dead, because that entire blueprint will disappear. Not this one, because this one is the base, but the one that we're going to use later will disappear, and it's going to be one less on the board, or in the game I shall say, and we have to advise wave system here to tell everybody that, hey, we have an enemy that just died. Now we have to adjust the score and make sure that we have more enemy. If not, it's going to start a new wave. If we do have enemy still in play, nothing's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to test it right now because we still need to do those one here. But for now, later on, we're going to be able to try all that. And if there is any mistake or debug to do, it's at that time we're going to fix that. But for now, we're just going to do the code, and we're going to continue with the other videos to implement those two things here. So I'll catch you on the next one. Welcome back. Last video we did the enemy killed. This time we're just going to do for the player score. It's not complicated here, but it's going to get complicated a little bit later on. I'll let you judge that when we're there. So we're going to take our give player score, and we're going to set our score value here. So if we take our score that is right there, we're going to take the same here. I'm going to drag and drop, and from our score here, we're just going to do an add. So now we can add a certain score to it and plug it right there. Okay, we can put it right this, and from there, when it's done, we're gonna call a dispatcher saying that our score has changed. So that way, it's just going to advise all the blueprint that the score has changed, and everyone that is listening, if they have any reason to change the score, they're going to change the score according to this dispatcher. So here you can see we don't have the dispatcher here, so we're just going to click on plus, add a new dispatcher. I'm going to call that dispatcher, and I'm going to call that score, and we're all set for that. So we're going to click here on the event dispatcher here for a score. We're going to make sure that we are adding a new input, and this one will be obviously get or player score, and we're going to make sure that we're changing that to a text. Same as before, we're just going to take it and drag and do a call, plug those two together, and here we're going to get the player score. It's the same as we did in all the other one. So we're going to create a new function here, and we're going to call that get player score. And from that, we're just going to do a little return node. Going to make sure that return node as an output for our result. From that, we can drag and search for format text. And the text that we want is we want to plug this score here, right? But if we do this, you know, it's not what we want. We don't want something like this. Okay, as we did previously, we're going to do the same as we did here, right? We're going to take something similar to this, and we're going to put it right here. So we're going to open. Oh, my keyboard is not set up correctly. Let me just change that. Now I should be able to, here we go. So we're going to type score in that and close those brackets. Now we have the score up here. We plug that there, and we're all set. And make sure before we exit, we change that to per. So what I mean by there is that we're going to click on our player score, and we're going to click per. So that way we don't have those little arrow that we seen earlier, this thing here, right? So we're going to take that, and now we can plug it directly to there. Otherwise, as I said before, if we don't click per, it's going to look like this, and you're going to have to connect that like this, and that doesn't look good. So as we don't need to use that for anything else than this, we can just put it as per. Now we're all set. Here or later on, at some point, if we have a best score, we can ask the game to save that best score for us so we have a reference to this at some point. So that is done here. We're going to click another one, and it's going to be another custom event. And this time it's going to be remove score, remove player score. So depending if you want your player to lose points or not in the game, but just in case you want, it's going to be there. So we're just going to move that out of the way. So same as we just did, we're going to take our score. We're going to do a get. And now we can just search for a decrement. If I know how to write decrement, and we can plug those two together. And we can take our score again and now set that score to that new value. And once again, we call our event dispatcher for the sound, and then the score. And we take again our player score and plug it right there. So now we can take those two here, just put it a little bit closer because they're gonna go together. So when we kill an enemy, it's gonna give us a certain amount of points. It's gonna take those points plus the score that we already have, and it's gonna set it, and it's gonna call dispatcher to say, hey, the points has changed, which is gonna be able to be displayed for the player in the top corner. Same process apply that when we want the player to lose some points, we're gonna call this custom event. It's gonna take the current score that we have here because this is the game mode, which is the one that calculates our point. We'll take the score that we have there, remove the amount that we need to remove, depending on what action the player did wrong. It's gonna set that value again with the new number, which should be lower than the previous one. It's gonna call the event dispatcher to tell, hey, there's something going on, and it's going to display in a corner that the score has changed, and it's going to adjust that value in consequence. So we can take all that. We're going to do C for comment on it, and oops, I lost track. So this is just going to apply player score, right? It's dependent of what action the player is doing that's going to give a score. Now the complicated part of the score is displaying that in the corner for our player HUD. So if we go to our UI here, we have the player HUD here, right? We already have the health, but here, or wherever you want, there is no box saying that, not no box, but there is nothing to tell the player that the score has changed, right? So what we're going to do here, we're just going to search for vertical box. So vertical box. You're going to take that box and just put it right here. And obviously we can adjust it the size we want, or we can just size to content here, size to content. But we're not going to do that for now. Otherwise it's going to be very, very small, as you can see. And it's impossible to work with that. So we're not going to check this right now. So we're going to make sure that we anchor that to the location that we want. So we want that to be in the corner here. Obviously you could put it something like this. I'm just going to leave it there for now. And now with that, we can reset the position of it, or we can play with those values if we want to change something, but we're not going to change anything. So we're just going to leave it as is. So in that vertical box, we're going to search for an horizontal box this time. So I'm going to take an horizontal box that we have right here. I'm just going to drag it on the horizontal box, a vertical box, sorry. So now you can see there is one right here. So the point is doing only one, and we're just going to duplicate this one for everything that we need. So instead of redoing the same thing X amount of time, we're just going to do it once. So we have our vertical box. And here we're going to start with our wave system, which is a text that we're going to add. So we're going to add a text here and put that on the horizontal box. Now we have the text. The text, well, here we're just going to change that for waves. All right, that's just the name of the text. That's not the text that we're changing inside that box. It's right here. So I want that to be displayed like so. So I'm going to write this. So now we have wave right here. So now when I click on the wave, I can adjust some setting here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave pretty much everything as is, but I'm just going to put a little outliner. So it's going to put that black line around it, and I think it just look a little bit better. So next to that wave here, we're going to add another text. Right, we're going to put it to the horizontal box, which is going to be displayed next to it. We're going to select that text. Okay, and this text will be our number, which is the number that we're going to change. So we're going to click on this text, and same thing, we're just going to change the name. We're going to call that wave number. Okay, and both need to be a variable. Let me double check here. Yeah, no, only the number one need to be a variable. So we're going to make sure that we are checking this box here. Now we're going to be able to change this value accordingly. So now same thing, we're going to just go down to the outliner and put 3. Now we're going to change that number just to 0, 0 for now, so it's take less space. And now we can select the vertical box and put size to content, as you can see. Now, if you're satisfied with the look of this in the corner, right, it's going to be something around this. If you're satisfied with the color, the outliner, and all that, we can now take this box and just duplicate it another time. There we go. Now we have the wave. Now we just have to change that to the amount of enemy remaining. So same thing, we're gonna change that for enemy remaining. Same thing here, we're gonna change that for wave for enemy, if I know what to write, enemies remaining. It's a little bit large for now. And the text number next to it, same thing, we're just gonna change that for enemies number. Same thing, so already at 0, 0. You can see now it's taking a lot of space. We need to be able to have this take a little bit less space, so we can take our vertical box and we can just move that vertical box if I'm able to move it. Well, I can maybe just move it with that. Here we go. Around here, that should be fine. I'm gonna do the same process once more. So we have vertical box here, horizontal box. We just need to make sure that we name those boxes as well. Right, so this one will be for waves. Just to keep a little bit more organized here so it's easier to track down our stuff. And this one will be for our enemy remains, or enemies remaining. There we go. So we're gonna duplicate that once more, and this time it's gonna be for our score. So we're gonna duplicate, and now same thing. We're going to change the enemy remain for now score. There you go. Same thing, when I click on the text, it's going to be changed for score. And now we can change enemy remain here for score. And the number here, we're going to change that again for score. As you can see here, we can't put score because we already have one, but we can just fix that by bringing underscore and just put number. And here the score is already set up and we're all set. So now in the wave system that we have, we're gonna play to change the number here. Enemy remain is gonna be played with this number here, and the score when we kill an enemy will be displayed here. Okay, so we're gonna keep that as simple for now. Now the complicated part is going to the graph, and here that's gonna be a little bit more complicated. So we need a way here in that graph to get the information from the wave-based system that we have here. So every time the score change or enemy is killed or that we're in a new wave, we need to be able to gather the information from here. As you remember, we're using dispatcher, right? It's where those dispatcher come handy is because every time something happens in our game mode, it's calling and telling everybody that something is happening. In this case, for now, the score has changed, so the game is telling every blueprint, hey, this is the new score that you have to display. And this Joe Blow here, this guy, will listen to that, and when gonna hear, the score has changed, he's gonna take that value and put it right there. Okay, so we're gonna go in the graph here. We're gonna remove that. Obviously, there's other way to do this, but I think this one is good to do because you're not always checking using an event tick if the score has changed. It's only changing when it's need to be changed, which is just save a little bit of performance, but as we know, computers are pretty strong nowadays, so it's not really a big deal. But I just prefer to use this way. Obviously, you use the way you like, but for this video, I'm going to show you this way here. So we're going to do a sequence here. On our event construct, we're going to have a sequence here. We're going to add a new pin. First of all, when this blueprint comes to play, this HUD or this canvas panel or whatever you call it, what you see when you play the game, what has all your statistics, your ammunition, your health get created in the game. First, we're going to cast at least once to our GM wave base here. And as we did previously, the object is the game mode. So we're gonna get our game mode. It's easy to know which one is that because when we go there in the corner, if you already have an issue for reference on blueprint, it's always here that you look, oh, that's a game mode. Well, I have to refer to game mode, right? Sometimes you have to create your own, but we're not gonna get into that here. So now we're going to take a reference to that. So we're just going to promote that to variable. I'm going to leave the name as is. Now we're going to go down here a little bit. And it's where it's getting a little bit complicated here. So we're going to take the reference to our base here. We're going to drag it and do a get. Now as we get that HUD created, we're casting to our game mode, which give us access to this instead of casting each time. Now it's cast once, it's already in memory, so we can use it. So from that, now we have to say bind. So we can bind to what is happening. What I mean by this is our dispatcher score, or dispatcher when an enemy die. Oh, I'm trying to find it. The new wave, and when an enemy die, which is, I don't know where I put it. Right here. There we go. So we need to tell this blueprint that when they hear the score has changed, to take an action. Okay, so how we do that? Well, in the enemy here, in the wave-based system, I mean, we already have our 3 dispatcher. So we're going to take one of those dispatcher. We're going to start with the wave. We're going to drag from it, and now we're going to search for that dispatcher. So if you type dispatcher, you should have access to those dispatcher. Okay, and you have enemy dispatcher, enemy range, score, and wave. We want this one here, but we don't want to call. We want to bind this dispatcher. Okay, so it's really important. So we have to bind this, because if we called, well, we're not really listening, right? We want to listen to that. So we have to find a way to tell the game to bind it to it. Okay, we're going to drag from it, and we're just going to search for bind. And now we can bind even dispatcher, and we can take our wave. There we go. Now we have it here. So this obviously will be connected right here. Now we're going to create a custom event from that. And this custom event will be called display wave to top corner. As you can see, we already have our next wave format here that we created earlier. As you may remember here, when we do a dispatcher, we already create the text here. So when we're calling that to do a bind, we already have access to this value, which is right there. So we're going to take this value, and now we have to change the text that is right here. So this text here, you see, wave number. So it's what we have to change, because we checked variable. Now we have access to the variable to modify this value. So we're going to take the wave text number here. We're going to drag and do a get. Okay. From that, we're going to drag it, and we're going to do set text, which is the one here that we're going to take, the one at the bottom. And we're going to connect this. So now we want the text to be displayed a certain way, which we already created here, that we want the text to be displayed like this. So it's exactly what the game's going to show us. So now this one is for the wave, so it's going to put current wave. It's going to put a slash in the middle and the max wave to our screen. So we're going to go back to our player HUD, and we're just going to connect those two. If you will have not do it here, you would have needed to do it here. But it's already done on the previous page, so not the previous page, but in the wave-based system. So we're just going to use this one instead of doing it again. Okay, now we can take all that, do a little comment, and as I said before, this will listen for our dispatcher wave to fire off in the game mode waves to update the wave on the top right corner. Okay, obviously you don't have to write all that, but at least we know exactly what this code is doing. So now we're going to repeat the same thing, but this time for the amount of enemies. Same process, right? Oh, I see there was a mistake here, spelling mistake. I'm going to corner. I'm going to repeat the same process. So once more, we're going to take our GM, we're going to drag from it, and we're going to search bind event to dispatcher, and this time it's going to be our enemy remain. All right, same thing, we can plug it right there. We're going to create another custom event. This custom event will be display enemies remaining to top corner. And same as before, we're going to take the enemy number here that we want to change, do a get, drag from it, set text, and we're going to take this text, plug all that together, and we're all set. So now we're going to copy, paste this comment, put it right there, and this time, instead of wave, we're just going to change our enemies remaining. Okay, same principle again. This one here will be for our score. So we're going to change the name here for score. And it's going to be the same logic again. So we're going to take our GM, place it there. We're going to bind to dispatcher. We're going to take the score. We're going to plug those two together. There we go. We're going to create another custom event. This one will be, display score to top corner. I don't know even how to write, so perfect. Same, we're gonna take our score, take it, get, we're gonna set our text, here we go, plug all of that together, and we should be all set. Okay, and we can save that. Okay, so now we have that. So let's see if we can see that now. Okay, so we're gonna go on our menu here, we're gonna do play, we're gonna start the game. As you can see here, it's showing in the corner that when the first wave out of 5. Obviously, when we kill the enemy, it's doing no score, nothing, because we didn't set up anything, but you can see that the wave is working with wave 1 out of 5. So the score now, so if we want to score, we have the enemy score here. This one is the base, okay, that's the enemy base. It's just kind of a template that we use for all the other enemies that we're going to create. If we put a number here, all the enemy by default will have this score, and you can change the score after, obviously, but I always leave it at 0 and change the score for the value that I need in the enemy itself. But just to show you that it's working, I'm gonna put a number here. So I put 5, compile, and I'm gonna start that again. Now when I kill the enemy, technically I should have 5 in the corner here, as we can see. So we have 5, you see enemy remain -1. Okay, it's doing -1 because we didn't set up the other part of the code for the enemy that are spawning and how many left and things like this. It's why it's showing minus, right? But you can see that our score here on the corner is working perfectly. We have 0 score, 0 enemy remain, which there is 1 because the code is not finished, but we have first wave out of 5. And if we kill this guy, it's changing here. So you can see that the code is working. And what I like about doing the code this way is that, as I said at the beginning, when something happened in the game mode, right? Oh, I'm gonna go back, just make sure we're all following. When an enemy is killed, is dispatching, saying that an enemy has been killed and you have to take an action. So this is yelling, someone has been killed. This guy here, because we bind the event here, is listening to, did someone has been killed? Yes, someone has been killed. An enemy is destroyed. We're now doing something here and we have to change the number according to the information that we have in our enemy base skill. So it's all those three together work together, right? You do an action. This one is, the game is telling there's an action has been done. This one is listening for this action to change the text according to what the enemy is saying for this, the enemy rain or for the score or whatever you want to. So those three work together. So that's maybe a little bit complicated, but just keep in mind the wave system is telling something happened. This guy here, in the specific case for the score, I'm listening for score. Score has changed. I'm attached to the score. I have to change the text for that score. So you don't use an event tick, so it's not triggering every 0.0008 seconds or something around those lines. It's just triggering when something happens, so you save a little bit in performance and you have less things that run in the background at all time. Okay, so I will let you go on this one and I will catch you on the next one. See ya. Hey, welcome back everyone. So we're gonna do the wave system again. Not again, but today for me again, because I didn't record the first time. The project is already completed, but have to go back in the project because this video didn't record and the sound is probably also different. For X reason, I don't know what happened, but everything is not working the way I intended to. So just don't pay attention if you see some little difference here. We're gonna make sure that we can fix all that, especially for the best score here. It's gonna be covered in the video after this one. So what we're going to do here, first we're going to create our wave system. Okay, so we should already have some variable down here. If they're not there, please feel free to create them. For me, they're probably already created because the second time I created, so I don't remember if some have not been created. If they're not there, just make sure you do it. Okay. Um, so we're gonna right click and do a custom event. Right, is the first thing we're going to do, and this custom event we're gonna call that wave start and put a slash spawn enemies. Okay. So we're gonna work from this. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna hold B on our keyboard and use the left click to get a branch. From this branch, we're gonna have a condition. The condition will be equal. So we're just gonna drive from it and just search for equal. We're gonna put equal. We're gonna take the operation here. We're gonna take this one. We want to be equal to our current wave. So we're gonna go to our variables on the side here. We have wave and we have our current wave. So we should already have that variable created from a previous video. So we're gonna take that current wave and just drop it here. We're gonna plug to the top here. And the number we put down here is the amount of wave that we want before going to the next level. Okay, so I'm gonna put 5, so we're gonna do 5 wave and we can go to a new map after that. So we're just gonna compile all that. So now from that, we're just gonna move a little bit on the side. We're gonna take our enemy, so we're gonna go to our variable enemies. So we have enemy left total. So we want the enemy total. So we're gonna take that and we're just gonna drop it to false here and put it right there. So we're gonna set our enemy total. It's gonna be time, so we're gonna for that little condition here. So we're gonna drive from it and we're just gonna do a multiplication. Okay, like this. And we're gonna multiply that by the current wave. So this one here. So we're gonna once again go to our wave variable to the side and just take it and plug it right there. Okay. the number we're going to put here is the number of time we want to duplicate the enemies. If we have 2 enemies spawning, we want to have a little bit more. So I'm going to put time 2. So we have 2 enemies. The next wave will be 2 enemy time 2. So 4 enemy. And the next wave will be 8 enemies, and so on and so forth. Okay. So from there, we're going to take our set enemy total. We're going to go and get our enemy left here on the side. We're just going to drop it right here. We're going to plug this one right there, and I'm going to move a little bit here on the side. And I'm going to search for loop with break. So we have it down here. So we're going to take this one, which giving us to access to some index. So we're going to take our enemy total here and just plug it to our last index. And by we're going to move a little bit on the side here. We're going to hold B and left click to do a branch. Make sure we connect those two together. And from there, we have a condition. So same, we're going to drag and search for equal. So we can take the operation. It's going to be connected to our last index up here. And in the bottom here, we're going to take our enemy total. And we're going to take that and we're going to divide it by 2. Okay. And I'm going to plug it right here. So I'm dividing that by 2 because I want the enemy to spawn at different locations. So I believe I'll go through the code after, so it's going to be a bit easier to explain because everything is going to be completed. From true here, we're going to plug that right to our break here. Okay. So by connecting this to break is as soon as we found the value that we want, it's going to break the loop, so it's not going to continue searching for the information that we need. Okay. So from false here, we're going to drag and we're going to search for a spawn actor. I'm going to take just spawn an actor from a class. I'm going to put it right there. So the class of our actor, it's in the enemy here. So we have enemy class actor. So we're just going to take that and put it there. I'm really unsure if this is already created. Otherwise, you can just create it by clicking on the variable, searching for actor, and it'll find it. So we're just going to do another one just so in case it's not done because I can't remember. So here we're going to go and search and just search for actor. Right, we have actor, and now we can take the class reference for actor. You see, it's exactly the same. Okay, so it's how you do it just in case it was not created. Okay, so we're going to take this one and I'm going to plug it to the class here. And we can compile this, okay? So now we have the spawn transform. So we want the enemies to spawn at different location in our map. So what we're going to do, we're just going to right click on that and we're going to split it. It's going to give us access to the location, the rotation, and the scale of our enemies. We are only interested in the first one here. So we're going to drag from that and we're going to search for get. And let's see where the get is. It's going to be this one here. And we're all set. Okay, so we're going to take our enemy spawn point. So same, we're going to create that variable. If it's not created, create variable type vector. And when you have the type vector, type enemy spawn point if it's not there. And here in the detailed panels, when it's done, make sure you change the single to array. So that way you can have the same as me. So from there, we're just going to take this value here and plug it right there. And you see here, I already have the numbers because it's done from the previous video. But to add the location that you want, you can click on the plus here and you put 3 index or as many as you want. I decided just to put 3 so they can spawn at 3 different locations. Okay, just to keep that simple. And from the integer here, we're going to drag and search for random integer. And we'll take the first one here, random integer. Okay. So here you can put the number that you want to have that randomized. So here, for an example, we have 0, 1, 2. So we have 3 index. So here we can put number 3. So it's going to make the enemy spawn between those 3 index. So it's going to choose one of those indexes. Will never really be the same. So more index you have, more spawn points you have. So if you have 8, for an example, you're going to put 8 here. So that way you have 8 locations to have your enemy spawn. Okay, so we're going to continue here. I'm going to move on the side here right after our spawn actor. I'm going to drag from that, and now we're going to call our dispatcher. So call our dispatcher for enemy rain. So we're going to take this one here, and we should be all set. So we have our enemy text format. So this, we already have that from a previous video. So we can just take it here and plug it right there. There we go. As simple as this. Okay. So the point here to get the location on the map of where you want your enemy to spawn, not complicated. So you go here for an example, you go on your map and you say, I want an enemy to spawn here. When you click on this, you can go to detail and you have the location of it. So if you move that, for an example, you see the location is changing in the detail panel here. So you can take an object, place it where you want your enemy to spawn there, copy that number, and just transfer that number here. And it should be all good. Make sure that after that you take that block and you put it back where it was, otherwise it might interfere with your spawning system and the enemy will glitch or things like this, right? Just be cautious of that. Okay, so for the GM base here, so we're gonna go back to our system here. So we already have a little bit done here. So we're going to continue the rest of the code. So we're gonna go to our for each loop here, not for each loop, but for loop with break. For completed, we're gonna do the same again. So we're gonna search for loop, and we're gonna take the one with the break once again. Well, no, I took the wrong one. So we need this one here. So we can just copy this one so we don't have to search for it. Okay, from there here, we're gonna take our enemy total right here, and we're gonna plug that to our last index. And we're gonna move that out of the way. So we're gonna drag from enemy total. We're gonna take our divide, put it right here, and we're gonna connect that like this. Okay, so we're gonna put 2 here, and we should be all set. Almost all set, right? So now we're gonna move on the side a little bit here. So we want this again. So we're gonna take that, just copy paste, put it down there, and make sure it's connected to those 2 here. Okay. So the location, well, we can just take this one, put it right there. And the enemy class, well, we're going to take our enemy class and put it right there and compile. We're going to move on the side here. Same as we just did, we're going to take that and plug it up here. Okay. So now we're going to go through that code together so we just have a better understanding of what we are doing with this code here. So when the enemy wave system get called, so when that custom event get called, we go to our current wave. So the wave we are currently on, so wave number 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. For an example, we're at wave 1. So those the current wave, is it equal to the number that we have here in the box? If it's true, well, we're going to have something happen here. If it's false, we're going to continue to our code to create our enemies. Okay. So for an example here on true, you could have spawned a boss, a strong enemy just before the end of that level. You could do that here when it's reached the amount of wave that you need. So just to put that out of the way, so we're going to continue with that. So our wave does not equal the number we have in the box, so it's false. So we're going to take our enemy totals on the map, right? We're going to multiply that by 2 from the current wave. So wave number 1, so 1 times 2, 2. Wave 2, 2 by 2, 4. Wave 3, 3 by 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're going to set those enemy left. So if we have 4 enemies, going to set enemy left on 4, right? It's going to get the same amount of enemy, so the same number. So when we kill the enemy, we can remove those enemy from the game, right? So it's important that we have that. We're going to go to our for loop with a break. So we're going to go through this. And when we go through that, okay, it's a little bit confusing here. Even when I look at it, I'm like, holy crap, it's really confusing. Okay, so we go to our for loop with a break. And when that is completed, we go to the other one. And the reason why we go to the other one is just that we can have the enemy spawn at different location. Okay, so we go through this, and here we have the branch. So if it's true that we have the index that we need, which is the last index, it's going to be the true and break, so we don't continue to go to the code. And we can go all the way here, go to our spawn actor. So we're going to spawn the actor that we want. So in this case, there is nothing here. As I said many times, it's only the base of our game here. So if we want to spawn different enemy, we just do a child of this one here, and we can select the enemy we want to spawn. The spawn location is from the spawn transform here, so we can decide where we want those enemy to spawn. As I said, you go on the map and you select where you want your enemy to spawn by taking the number here and you place it right up here, right? As many spawn point as you will like. We have a random here, so it's never from the same location that the enemy will spawn. We're repeating the same process here from the other loop and create our actor once more, okay? So obviously, if you want to know exactly what the loop does, you can always, there's a great tutorial. There's a guy that do awesome tutorial about explaining exactly what each node is doing. So I do recommend to go do that just in case. If you just want it to work, just copy paste what is there and it should work for you, okay? So I'm not as good to explain how that work this thing. So that's why I recommend to have a video from someone that knows exactly how that thing works, so to get accurate information. So we go from there, and now we call our dispatcher. It's gonna set the enemy remain. So as I said before, if we had 4, it's gonna call the dispatcher, say, hey, we have 4. Our player had here. Have enemy remain as we did in a previous video. So we're gonna go down here. So we have our enemy remain. So it's gonna listen to that number and set the number to the top corner here. Okay. As I said, don't pay attention to the best score here. It's gonna be done later. Okay. So with that, it should be all working for us. Okay. So I redone that in front of you. So make sure there is no issue with that. So we should be able to test that and see if it's works. So now we're just going to do a little comment. Okay, and the comment that we're going to put is going to be spawn enemy according to the current wave, so the time to here, at random location, 8 in total. I put 3 here now, but obviously you put the amount if you want. So I had 8 before, for X reason, now I only have 3. Probably because the video crashed and I had to redo it again. Whatever. So 3 here, so you can put 3. So because we have 3, we're just going to change this number to 3. And it's going to call the dispatcher for the enemy remain to advise all blueprint of the amount of enemy in the level. Okay, so this code is exactly what is going to spawn the enemy and tell how much enemy we have in the level. So we're going to make sure we check the bubble here so we can have that beautiful text on the top here. Okay, so now we can compile that. So we're going up here, and if we go to our wave increment that we have here, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way down here. And when we call the dispatcher here, we need to call the custom event that we did right here. So the wave start and spawn enemies, okay? Because every time we increment the wave, we have to call the other custom event so we can have our enemy spawn, okay? So we're gonna go there and search for that start and spawn enemy. I'm gonna take that and just plug it here to the print string. You might not have the print string, but no big deal. You can copy it if you want to see it in the top corner what it's doing and which wave we are at. So now if we compile and we try that, it should work. So let's see. So we're gonna do play, start, new game. So we have here, we can pick up our gun. And as you can see, we have one enemy, there's two enemies. So we have this one here. Sorry if it's really loud, and we should have the other enemy somewhere. So we can see here it's not working. So there's a little something that it's not working. So I'm wondering if the enemy doesn't just spawn randomly in the level or not. So let's try to find out why. Okay, so there's few little things that we have to modify because it's not working as we just saw. So first thing, we're gonna go to our for loop with break. We're gonna make sure that we put the number 1 here. Okay, we're gonna go all the way down here. Our enemy class, we're just gonna put back our AI enemy base on both. Okay, so obviously if you have different enemy, you're gonna do that. But just for example, we have it here. Otherwise, technically this will be empty, and you're gonna have another blueprint that's gonna be put right here. But just for the test, we're gonna put it there like this. Make sure that the spawn actor, it's always spawned and within your any collisions. So it's gonna be always on our map. We're gonna do that on both. And now if we try it, I believe that everything should work, okay? So the difference that we had just before, we didn't have that, so it was at default. So make sure that we put that at, not at just location, but always spawn, and in your collision, the enemy class need to have the AI base in it, okay? And the for loop here need to have the number 1. The first loop go to 0. Take the 2 enemies of that when it's when it's completed, go to the other loop and take the 4 enemy divided by 2. So we have 2 enemy remain and gonna make them spawn right here. So at 2 other location, or at least the amount of location we have here, okay? And we go from there. So now we're gonna try that and see how well that works. So we're gonna compile. Sound may be very loud, just bear with me. So we're gonna see if we can just make sure it's not too loud on the output. So we're gonna do play. So it seems to be pretty loud. So let's see if I can just put it down here a little bit. Now let's see again. Where is it? I lost it. Oh, right here. There we go. So we're gonna do new game. We're gonna take our weapon on the ground. So we have 2 enemies in the level. We have 1 down. We have the other one right here. And we have 3 spawning on that location. There's 1 here, so we have 4 in total. So we're gonna take care of those. 1 here. As you can see, we have 2 more here, 1 here, and the remaining are there. And wait, you can see there's a little issue here. We have a collision issue, so we're gonna try to fix that as well. Well, the collision that we just see that we have issue with, so we're gonna go to our enemy base here, and we have our enemy here, and we have the collision here. So if we search for collision, if you take the AI enemy base, search for collision, you have the collision type here. So you should have something that looks like this. So for the enemy type, I put no collision here because we don't need it for this one. If we go for the capsule, so this one here, just make sure that we have those settings here. So we're gonna in the visibility for the camera, so it's not blocking the camera on them anymore. We're gonna make sure that on the box under we have something like this, so no collision again, and we have something like this. So make sure you copy those settings. Okay, it's a collision issue, so I had to play back and forth with the values just to make sure everything is working. But that's pretty much this, and same thing for the static mesh here. So it's the collision setting that I have for. And if we go do and play again, so this time when we do get close to the enemy, the camera is not blocking anymore. So we all set for that. So on this, I will catch you on the next one.